OpenAI has found a way for AI to make AI safer. Can you believe it?
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. They call it rule-based rewards, or RBRs for short. And, well, that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We've got OpenAI's latest blog post and research paper, both from July 24th of this year.
Right.
To kind of help guide us through it.
Oh,
So this is like the bleeding edge of AI safety.
I imagine.
So yeah, buckle up.
Yeah.
Because we're going to try to unpack all the details and explain why it matters.
Okay.
So let's start with like the traditional way we teach AI to be safe.
Okay.
It's kind of like, imagine you have to show an AI every single way it could go wrong. Like every potentially offensive or harmful statement.
Yeah.
It's like almost like teaching a child good manners, but on an exponentially larger scale.
And as you can imagine, that has some drawbacks.
Oh, that's...
That method, while effective to a point, it's incredibly time-consuming, and it can get very expensive because it requires countless hours of human annotation.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's incredibly rigid.
Yes.
What happens when safety guidelines need to be updated or when the AI encounters like an entirely new scenario?
Exactly.
We're back to square one with the whole training process.
Yeah.
And even more time and expense.
Exactly. And that's where OpenAI's research on RBRs comes in.
Okay.
Instead of relying solely on these mountains of human feedback,
Right.
RBRs offer a potentially more adaptable and scalable solution by establishing a clear set of rules for the AI to follow. Think of it as like providing the AI with the structured framework for understanding and navigating the complexities of safe and ethical behavior.
Okay, so let's unpack this framework. What are these rules and how do they actually work? This is where the real deep dive begins. So breaking it down, how do RBRs actually make AI safer? Like, what's the process?
It's all about taking this big challenge and like breaking it down into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Okay.
Kind of like, if you were teaching someone a new language,
Right.
you wouldn't just like throw the entire vocabulary at them all at once.
You got to start with like the basics. Right?
Exactly. You start with like basic grammar rules, then you introduce sentence structure.
Okay.
RBRs apply that kind of similar principle to this, to AI safety.
So instead of saying be a good AI,
right,
we give it like specific instructions for what that actually means.
Exactly. Yeah. And OpenAI's research, they outline 3 core components to this approach: propositions, rules, and a grader.
Okay, so 3 words guaranteed to make anyone's eyes glaze over.
Right.
But we're going to break it down.
Yeah, we're going to make it clear.
So let's use an example. Let's say we're teaching an AI to summarize factual topics, but without adding its own opinions.
Okay, perfect example.
So where do these propositions, rules, graders all come in?
So in this case, propositions, those are like simple true or false statements about the AI's output.
Okay.
So for example, does the summary include unsupported claims? Does it express personal beliefs?
Right.
These propositions, they act like building blocks, essentially.
Gotcha. So then the rules.
Right. So then we have the rules, and these combine the propositions into kind of a decision tree for the AI to follow. So for example, a rule could be, if the summary contains an unsupported claim, then it should be flagged as potentially problematic.
Okay, so it's like giving it the guidelines. So far, so good.
Exactly. It gives the AI concrete guidelines for what makes a safe and reliable summary.
Okay, so then the grader.
Right. So this is where it gets really interesting.
This is where the AI judges AI, right?
Exactly. This is the AI judging AI aspect of it.
So cool.
Essentially, another AI is used to actually assess whether the output adheres to the established rules.
Whoa, so we've got AI checking the work of another AI.
Yeah.
That feels very like sci-fi in a way.
It does, but it's a really fascinating layer to the process.
But why use AI for that? I mean, wouldn't humans be better at judging those nuances?
That's a very common question, and the answer might be a little surprising. But large language models, or LLMs, which is the type of AI we're talking about here, they're actually quite good at making these very specific judgments. They can really quickly and efficiently identify if a summary contains an unsupported claim or if it expresses an opinion, things like that.
So OpenAI is basically leveraging AI's strengths to address its weaknesses by breaking down this complex behavior into these smaller judgments.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And the early results, at least what we're seeing in their research, it's incredibly promising.
So, like, how good are these RBRs in practice?
Right.
Are we talking like a small improvement, or is this like a big leap forward for AI safety?
Well, the really remarkable thing that we're seeing in OpenAI's research is that these RBRs, they're performing comparably to human feedback in certain areas.
Right.
And that's huge. I mean, imagine achieving those same results, but so much faster, so much more cost effectively.
Yeah, especially when you think about just how much time, energy, money goes into all the current AI safety measures.
Exactly. It's a really, really big deal.
So does that mean, like, is this the end-all be-all? Like, are RBRs the answer?
Well, it's important to remember that this research is still in its early stages. So while RBRs are showing a lot of promise,
Right.
It's not like a magic bullet or anything. Even OpenAI emphasizes, this is just the first step towards like a potentially more scalable and a more efficient approach to AI safety.
Okay, so this has been super interesting, but for like the average person, why does all this really matter?
Well, think about it. AI is becoming increasingly integrated into our lives. And,
It really is, yeah.
a safer, more reliable AI has the potential to really transform so many different aspects of the world. Like imagine virtual assistants that truly understand us and respond to our needs with like so much more accuracy, so much more helpfulness.
Yeah.
Or what about AI-powered educational tools that provide personalized learning experiences while remaining objective, unbiased,
Yeah, the possibilities seem endless. It's very exciting.
It is super exciting, especially as research in this area keeps developing.
Absolutely. And, it makes sense as AI evolves, we need our ways of making sure it's safe to evolve too, right?
Right, exactly. And I think OpenAI's work on RBRs gives us a really compelling glimpse into the future of this really important field.
It really does give us a lot to think about.
It does.
And on that note, that is all the time we have for today's deep dive, but we hope this episode has given you plenty to ponder.